Hello and welcome. The Vermont Community Action Partnership with the Vermont Microbusiness Development Program proudly presents E.M.B.R.A.C.E, Economic Microbusiness Recovery Assistance for the COVID-19 Epidemic. This will be a presentation on an overview of Project E.M.B.R.A.C.E and the direct grants, as well as eligibility requirements and frequently asked questions. Business ownership is a proven pathway out of poverty, helping to increase income, create wealth, and move people off public assistance. An introduction to Vermont's Microbusiness Development Program, 30 years strong. Since 1988, the 5 Vermont Community Action Agencies have successfully led the Microbusiness Development Program, MBDP, and enabled low and moderate income Vermonters to achieve and sustain the dream of entrepreneurship. Vermont's microbusiness economy is robust, with more than 50% of small businesses identified as micro, employing 5 or fewer employees, including the owner. The E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant is specifically designed for Vermont's micro business owners. E.M.B.R.A.C.E Microbusiness Grant Overview. 1. Grant eligibility requirements. 2. Law, rules, regulation. 3. About E.M.B.R.A.C.E Microbusiness Grant. 4. Pre-planning for the application process. 5. Frequently asked questions, grant eligibility. 6. Frequently asked questions regarding grant fund acceptable uses. 7. Timeline for E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant program. E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant eligibility requirements. 1. You must be a Vermont state resident over the age of 18 with an active Vermont-based microbusiness and legally registered with the state of Vermont on or before March 1st, 2020. Microbusiness definition: a business with less than 5 employees, including the owner. 2. Your business needs to have been financially affected by COVID-19 between March 1st, 2020 and November 1st, 2020. 3. Your household income must be at or below 80% of Vermont state median household income. 4. Not engaged in the following: cannabis-related services, firearm sales, lobbying, franchise/chain, consultant/service provider with exactly 1 client. 5. Has not received a Vermont Emergency Economic Recovery Grant from another state of Vermont agency or department. Law, rules, regulations. The E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant program is funded by the CARES Act, approved by the state of Vermont through the Department of Children and Families, DCF, administered by the Vermont Office of Economic Opportunity and managed by E.M.B.R.A.C.E Community Action and the Vermont Community Action Partnership. Law, rules, regulations. Misrepresentation of your information provided during the E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant application process may result in criminal investigation for fraud. By engaging in the grant application process, you consent to disclosure of the information provided to the Vermont Community Action Partnership, the state of Vermont, and the federal government of the United States of America. About E.M.B.R.A.C.E Direct Grant. Vermont's Microbusiness Development Program, Project E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant program, is designed to assist underserved Vermont micro business owners that have been financially impacted by COVID-19. This program will provide grants of $2,500 through $5,000 to qualifying microbusiness owners on a first-come, first-served basis. You will be required to provide a list of how you will spend the grant funds based on COVID-19 and your business industry. The expense list will be verified by a business counselor and administrative staff to ensure eligibility and appropriateness. If approved for the grant, you will be required to utilize the funds only for the listed expenses and will be required to show receipts for the purchases. The list of requested expenses and receipts must add up to the total grant amount issued. You will be held legally accountable for any variation between the grant amount and receipt total. Pre-planning for the application process. The application is an online form. The application reopened November 5th, 2020. Plan on allotting up to one full, uninterrupted hour to complete it. If you do not complete it in one sitting, your work will not be saved and you will have to start over. You will be asked to provide a written narrative for some of the questions. Consider writing your answers before you sit down to complete the application. Your responses should be as clear and concise as possible. Pre-planning for the application process continued. 1. Business description. You'll be asked to describe your business, the products or services you provide, and your organizational structure, sole proprietor, LLC, partnership. 2. How has COVID-19 adversely impacted your business? The sole purpose of this grant is to help qualifying microbusinesses to recover from the harm caused to them by COVID-19. Some examples are: my business closed due to state requirements, loss of revenue due to stay-at-home order, do not have adequate online presence to replace lost business, not having proper PPE equipment, having to homeschool children or loss of childcare, not having a business model that aligns with safety precautions, loss of sales because customers don't feel safe or not spending, only being able to conduct business at a limited capacity, not having a physical space that aligns with safety precautions. Pre-planning for the application process continued. Funding request. You will need to provide a clear explanation as to how the use of this grant will help stabilize, strengthen, or revive your business. Consider how an infusion of $2,500 to $5,000 can help you recover from the setback caused by the pandemic. What equipment, tools, or services would you purchase, and what positive direct impact would they have on your business? You will need to be as specific as possible, so be sure to give this a lot of thought. Although $5,000 is a substantial amount of money, it may not address all of your business needs. Therefore, be strategic and careful as to how you prioritize your needs. Focus on what your business needs the most that will help move your business forward. Keep your receipts. It is important to keep your receipts of the purchases made with this grant. You will be sent a 1099 at the end of the year. The IRS requires you to report this as revenue, which you will offset on your business taxes Schedule C as business expenses. Please be aware that federal or state funding authorities will randomly select 10% of the statewide grants for audit. This means you may be asked to show your receipts. Your receipts must equal the amount of the grant award you received. You will need to make all purchases before December 30th, 2020. Frequently asked questions. Grant eligibility. Question: does unemployment count as income for this grant? Answer: no. Question: can I receive a grant if I have received the Paycheck Protection Program or Economic Injury Disaster Loan? Answer: yes, but grant proceeds may not duplicate the benefit or pay for the same expense. Question: can I receive grant funds if my business was open but not registered with the state of Vermont as of March 1st, 2020? Answer: no. Your business must be registered as of March 1st, 2020 with the state of Vermont. This could be registered as a DBA, doing business as, LLC, limited liability company, LLP, limited liability partnership, C Corp, S Corp, or other legal entity recognized by the state of Vermont and registered with the Vermont Secretary of State. Question: do I need 2019 tax documents? Answer: no. Question: do I need current financial statements? Answer: no. Question: do I need to have a written business plan? Answer: no. While a business plan is always recommended for anyone in business, it is not a necessary document for the E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant requirements. Frequently asked questions, grant eligibility continued. Question: can I apply for this grant even though I received one from another grantor within the last year? Answer: yes. However, you may not receive funding for the same purpose or expense. Question: in March, I was meeting with my business coach and developing my business goals and plans when the COVID-19 shutdown caused severe delays in my business startup. Am I able to apply for this grant under these circumstances? Answer: no. Unfortunately, the E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant can only be used for existing micro businesses opened and operating before March 1st, 2020 and registered with the state of Vermont. Question: I operate as a sole proprietorship under my own name and as a result do not have to register my business with the Vermont Secretary of State. Is it a requirement that I must have my business registered with the Vermont Secretary of State to apply for this grant? Answer: yes. You must have been registered with the state of Vermont as a legal business entity or doing business as DBA as of March 1st, 2020, or show proof of business activity through 2019 taxes, Schedule C. The reason for the requirement of being registered with the Vermont Secretary of State is that it gives us proof that you were in fact licensed and doing business before the date of March 1st, 2020. If a situation arises that you were not registered with the Vermont Secretary of State because of being a sole proprietorship doing business under your own name, you would then be required to show proof of business activity through 2019 tax returns, a Schedule C. We're not requiring other businesses that are registered with the Vermont Secretary of State as of March 1st to show tax returns, but if for a reason you were not registered with the Vermont Secretary of State but did have tax returns from 2019, you may be considered for this grant. What can businesses use the E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant funds for? The Vermont Economic Recovery Grants are being issued to help provide economic support to your business, which has been impacted by decreased customer demand due to the COVID-19 public health emergency. The funds can be used both to pay necessary expenditures that your business incurs and costs directly associated to your business's response to COVID-19. These grant funds should not be used for expenses that were covered by funds received from other federal sources, Paycheck Protection Program, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. These funds should only be used for expenses that were incurred after that period for which federal funds were used. Frequently asked questions regarding E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant fund acceptable uses. Question: is there a time limit on when I can spend the grant? Answer: yes, eligible businesses must certify that they will spend all grant funds by December 30th, 2020. Question: can the funds be used for personal bills? Answer: Funding should not be used to pay personal bills unless they are a legal IRS business expense. Question: can the funds be used for the purchase of new or used equipment? Answer: yes, as long as the equipment is needed to operate their business and the purchase of that equipment was not possible due to a disruption of income from COVID-19 or the equipment was needed due to COVID-19, such as a non-contact thermometer, new plexiglass to separate cashier from customers, or other applicable business expenses in relation to the health crisis of COVID-19. Question: can the funds be used for a business website? Answer: yes, if the website is needed to operate their business and the purchase of that service was not possible due to a disruption in income from COVID-19 or was needed due to COVID-19, i.e. to expand online retail or online marketing to win customer share. Frequently asked questions regarding E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant fund acceptable uses. Question: can the funds be used to pay for personal rent? Answer: funding should not be used to pay personal bills unless they are a legal IRS business expense. Question: can the funds be used to purchase a business vehicle? Answer: yes, if the equipment is needed to operate their business and the purchase of that equipment was not possible due to a disruption in income from COVID-19, or the equipment was needed due to COVID-19. If anyone is looking to use E.M.B.R.A.C.E funds for purchasing a business vehicle, that expense will be looked at and scrutinized to a high level due to the high possibility of fraud around vehicle purchases. Question: can the funds be used for the purchase of inventory I need to make my products? Answer: yes, if the inventory is needed to operate their business and the purchase of that inventory was not possible due to a disruption in income from COVID-19, or the inventory was needed due to COVID-19, such as fabric to make masks, hand sanitizer, etc. Frequently asked questions regarding E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant fund acceptable uses continued. Question: can the funds be used to pay down personal debt? Answer: funding should not be used to pay personal bills unless they are a legal IRS business expense. Question: can the funds be used to pay down business debt? Answer: yes, if debt payments were due between March 1st and December 30th and the business was unable to make a debt payment due to COVID-19. The E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant program will not be eligible for retroactive payments. So if you are applying for this grant in August, you could use it for September, October, November, and December debt payments that are business related. Question: can the funds be used as prepayment on a business lease for space or equipment? Answer: yes, for the period up to December 30th, 2020, if making the prepayment was not possible due to a disruption in income from COVID-19, or the lease was needed due to COVID-19, such as additional dining room space to accommodate new guidelines, or additional manufacturing space to make COVID-19 related products. Frequently asked questions regarding E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant fund acceptable uses continued. Question: can the funds be used to pay off back taxes? Answer: only if the debt was due between March 1st, 2020 and December 30th, 2020, and the business verifies that the disruption in revenue due to COVID-19 prevented them from being able to pay taxes on time. Funding should not be used to pay for taxes due prior to March 1st, 2020. E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant funds will only pay for expenses due after the submitted application date. Question: can the funds be used to pay for debt to a bank so I can open a new business account? Answer: only if that debt was incurred between March 1st, 2020 and December 30th, 2020, or if the business is on a payment plan and can demonstrate that those payments due between March 1st, 2020 and December 30th, 2020 were unable to be paid due to COVID-19. E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant funds will only pay for business expenses due after the submitted application date. Question: can the funds be used to hire professional business services? i.e. accountant, bookkeeper, lawyer, insurance, payroll service, business consultant, etc.? Answer: yes, as long as the services are needed to operate their business and the purchase of that service was not possible due to a disruption in income from COVID-19, or the service was needed due to COVID-19, such as hiring someone to facilitate a COVID-19 grant, reevaluating how you conduct your business in a post-COVID-19 world, etc. Frequently asked questions regarding E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant fund acceptable uses continued. Question: can the funds be used to hire business-related services, i.e. contractor? Answer: yes, as long as the services are needed to operate their business and the purchase of that service was not possible due to a disruption in income from COVID-19, or the service was needed due to COVID-19, such as hiring someone to facilitate a COVID-19 grant, reevaluating how you conduct your business in a post-COVID-19 world, installing a hand washing sink, installing plexiglass barriers for safety of customers, etc. Question: can the funding be used to acquire licenses, permits, certifications? Answer: as long as the services are needed to operate their business and the purchase of that service was not possible due to a disruption in income from COVID-19, or the service was needed due to COVID-19, such as hiring someone to facilitate a COVID-19 grant, reevaluating how you conduct your business in a post-COVID-19 world, securing certifications for health and safety due to COVID-19, permits related to contractors and construction related to COVID-19, or licenses and permits related to COVID-19 health and safety. Frequently asked questions regarding E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant fund acceptable uses continued. Question: can I prepay business expenses? Answer: yes. For the period up to December 30th, 2020, if making the prepayment was not possible due to a disruption in income from COVID-19, or the lease was needed due to COVID-19, such as additional dining room space to accommodate new guidelines or additional manufacturing space to make COVID-19 related products. Question: can the funds be used to renovate my home for business use, i.e. convert my garage into a workshop? Answer: yes, as long as the services are needed to operate their business and the purchase of that service was not possible due to a disruption in income from COVID-19, or the service was needed due to COVID-19. Question: can the funds be used to pay for a new cell phone? Answer: yes, as long as the services are needed to operate their business and the purchase of that service was not possible due to a disruption in income from COVID-19, or the service was needed due to COVID-19. Frequently asked questions regarding E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant fund acceptable uses continued. Question: can the funds be used to pay to join a networking group, association, etc.? Answer: yes, as long as the services are needed to operate their business and the purchase of that service was not possible due to a disruption in income from COVID-19, or the service was needed due to COVID-19. Question: can the funds be used for working capital? Answer: no. E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant funds can only be used for expenses that have documentation to prove the purchase. Receipts are needed for all uses of the grant funds. Question: can the funds be used to hire an independent contractor? Answer: yes, as long as the services are needed to operate their business and the purchase of that service was not possible due to a disruption in income from COVID-19, or the service was needed due to COVID-19, such as hiring someone to facilitate a COVID-19 grant, reevaluating how you conduct your business in a post-COVID-19 world, etc. E.M.B.R.A.C.E Micro Business Grant Timeline. Application opens November 5th, 2020. Applications will be processed on a first-come, first-served basis. Application submissions starting November 5th, 2020 until December 20th, 2020, or ending when the funding is exhausted. Grant application submissions will be reviewed by a microbusiness counselor for eligibility and completeness. Applicants will be contacted by phone or email for further review. After the phone or email review is complete, the business counselor will send you the secured number 2 grant application to complete and sign. Once you have completed and signed the number 2 secured grant application, the counselor and administration staff will review and process the application. If approved for the E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant, funding will be issued by B.R.A.C.E Community Action by direct deposit only to the applicant's business or personal bank account. E.M.B.R.A.C.E grant eligibility requirements recap. 1. You must be a Vermont state resident over the age of 18 with an active Vermont-based microbusiness and legally registered with the state of Vermont on or before March 1, 2020. Microbusiness definition: a business with less than 5 employees, including the owner. 2. Your business needs to have been financially affected by COVID-19 between March 1, 2020 and November 1, 2020. 3. Your household income must be at or below 80% of Vermont state median household income. 4. Not engaged in the following: cannabis-related services, firearm sales, lobbying, franchise/chain, consultant/provider with exactly one client. 5. Has not received a Vermont Emergency Economic Recovery Grant from another state of Vermont agency or department. How you can help other neighboring businesses. Our goal is to reach as many micro-businesses as we can. If you know of other Vermont micro-businesses that are struggling due to COVID-19, please send us an email with the business name and town in which they are located so we can contact the owners. Thank you in advance for taking the time to think about how to help yourself as well as your neighbor. This presentation brought to you by Vermont Community Action Partnership, E.M.B.R.A.C.E, Economic Micro Business Recovery Assistance for the COVID-19 Epidemic. This has been an initial overview on eligibility requirements and frequently asked questions related to E.M.B.R.A.C.E microbusiness grants. The application link is available on mbdp.org. That's mbdp.org, Micro Business Development Program. Thank you. Apply today.